Hallelujah, see ya, Allah, see ya. I got that word in me. I keep that time, we moving that word like some birds in me. Never let go of that. We just double like the flow. We walk alone with that. They bout some tanks with them. We throw a moon, say yes or you ain't with them. We do it for the five, enough for the bang figures. Say yes or this person you can't go. I got that word in me. I keep that time, we moving that word like some birds in me. Never let go of that. We just double like the flow. We walk alone with that. They bout some tanks with them. We throw a moon, say yes or you ain't with them. We do it for the five, enough for the bang figures. Say yes or this person you can't go. Teaching them young ones the bus gun that said that them young girls that said can't them sell us. Just said that we shipping is red, that might make that. We waking up people, they dead in their sleep. They want all they eat, but don't hear it, no see. They lost in the sea. I came off that block where they hustle, they grab me, they stab you in your best, and they love you, they slime me, don't try me, I'm ready for war. I keep that sword, right down the spirit so low. Raise it back off on the floor. The weapon is really in me. Showing mercy, cause it's really feeling. But it's hated in me, cause they want to hit me. Know the Father's in me. Exposing their way, showing they wicked who follow they with them. I'm handing their business, cause I gotta get it though. They die for the system, it's bad by the serpent. They want me stay dry like a surgeon. Want blood on my hand, wanna see murder. They took it by the devil, but I do not search them. Step on the head of the snake, I might hurt them. Heard they been lurking, I'm searching. Beat don't play no. And they got right on the move when they come against the word like a K-Tro. I got that word in me. I keep that time, we moving that word like some birds in me. Never let go of that. We just double like the flow. We walk alone with that. They bout some tanks with them. We throw a moon, say yes or you ain't with them. We do it for the five, enough for the bang figures. Say yes or this person you can't go. I got that word in me. I keep that time, we moving that word like some birds in me. Never let go of that. We just double like the flow. We walk alone with that. They bout some tanks with them. We throw a moon, say yes or you ain't with them. We do it for the five, enough for the bang figures. Say yes or this person you can't go. We be that glory, that spirit he pouring. We own it, that bread that from heaven. We got it, you want it. All night up on the bird. We be back up in the morning. Got that water like a river keep flowing. We checked out the young ones cause they mind still growing. Show the mercy to the old, got a wise man wrong. Parable upon. They don't really know it ain't down.
Around, we never running, we just walking around. Spitting scriptures like we busting around. Screaming on them as a thief in the night. Praise y'all, what you need in your life. New Torah movement, trying to bring it to life. We fishing for them, trying to get them to fight. They walking dead, trying to bring them to life. I got that water drop in this movie. Taking them back, but it's in school, Takes on the ground, we never run, we walk them down. That's how we do it, Torah move. I say my prayer, hallelujah. The prophets away. Did me what they face. They say that I'm going up my mind. I better tell them just stand where I'm staying. I stand on my two, I'm my man. I've been on that block and that kind of that sand. And keep the Torah, baby, we got that plan. If it's down, better give them a hand. Pick them up, cause together we stand. Granny had faith in a mustard seed. Uncle had faith in a bunch of keys. We sting your blood like a bunch of bees. The prophets had left, blowing the trumpet, we put in that work. They think it's for money. New Torah moving, yeah, we keeping it coming. But the tank told them if he try to go running, we walk them down like we searching for motives. Let out those scriptures, we load up the precepts. And they die right when you're big, walking on the gods of Egypt. Who it down, now we are. Don't let them fool you. I say my praise, hallelujah. Chase on around, we never running, we just walking around. Spitting scriptures like we busting around. Screaming on them as a thief in the night. Praise y'all, what you need in your life. New Torah movement, trying to bring it to life. We fishing for them, trying to get them to fight. They walking dead, trying to bring them to life. I got that water drop in this movie. Taking them back, but it's in school, Takes on the ground, we never run, we walk them down. That's how we do it, Torah move. I say my prayer, hallelujah. We sit in the making. Say the boss of y'all up in the prophets got them shaking. I need my plate, no shrimp, no bacon. I got my fam by my side like we racing. Had to put it together cause I ripped it in the minute, but I see us make it. I told her be patient without destruction. how we save it. Awakened by how we keep praying. Baby, it's so amazing. I got that water that they get thirsty. I got the bull with me. I got that ocean I swim with them sharks, and there is no tool with me. Get in my heart, they play the fool with me. Can't solo, got it cool.
I'd like to give all praises to the Heavenly Father. Kahalam yo, by the power of His word, I rock. Hallelujah. Peace and blessing to the family out there, those in the clouds listening, and those that are going to be with us tonight, family. All praises. You're about to start shortly, family. And this is going to get deep for a lot of people, because Christians try to use this doctrine from the scriptures. A lot of camps and others, they teach against what the scriptures are actually teaching, but don't understand it. But we know many of them say they have the truth. There's no shots at the end of them. We love our brothers, all the camps, all the Israelites. But we got to correct the doctrine. Show them what is right, what is righteous, what is just, and what is of Yah. We're going to get into this shortly, family. Let me get ready to share my screen. One second, family. I'm doing something. 1 second. I'm going to wait about 15, 20 seconds before we start, family. Got to make sure my screen is working correctly and get a few people in the building. Just hold tight, family. Okay, family, it's time to start, family. Paul and the Gentiles, family. Who are they, family? Who are these Gentiles? Now, all our brothers' camps, we all know they teach that Israelites, but we need to show this, family. But then, if they're going to say these are Israelites, then they have to understand the doctrine, what's being taught. And this is the problem, family. So we're going to start off with Romans 9:4. It tells us, who are Israelites? To whom pertaineth the adoption? So we find out all these things I'm about to read are pertaining to the Israelites. Who are Israelites? To whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory? So the adoption of Yah, the glory and the covenants with an S, there's multiple covenants, and the giving of the law, that giving of the law, family, and the service of Yah and the promises. So we see that all these things are pertaining to the Israelites. So we go to Ephesians 1:5, having predestinated us unto the adoption of children by Yahweh Shah HaMashiach to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will. So by the Messiah coming along, the word of Yah, his teaching brings us back into the adoption of the Most High. Isaiah 42:8. I am Yah, Yahuwah. That is my name. And my glory will I not give to another. It says he's not giving his glory unto another. Neither my praises to graven images. That glory is his people. That glory is his vessels he's dwelling. Israel. Isaiah 43:7. Even everyone that is called by my name. And the whole context of Isaiah 43 is dealing with Israel. And it separates the other nations of their witnesses. For I have created him for my glory. See, he said he's not giving his glory to another. He tells you in Isaiah 43:7 that he created us for his glory. I have formed him. Yeah, I have made him. So he made us. Those of Yasharal that is called by his name. The whole nation is his, but those of the nation that's called by his name, that believes and trusts in his word, his spirit. It tells you these things. Remember, we are under the law. So we will receive the adoptions of sons, which Romans 9:4. That's why it says the adoption. So when it says the adoption, having predestinated us unto the adoption, we are the ones being adopted back in. And we need to understand that, family, and how these things works. So we're going to go to this, family. In Genesis 10, what we need to understand, because the word Gentile, it means nations. Heathen, it also means people. And we need to understand that. So Genesis 10, now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshech, and Tyrus. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Ripkah, and Togarmah. And the sons of Javan, Elisha, and Tarshish, and Kittim, and Dodanim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families in their nations. Now let me break that down so you understand what it's even saying. Because Gentile, these people are not a sect of group called Gentile. This is what we need to understand. Because I told you this word means nations, heathen, and people. So it says, by these were the lands. See, a lot of people, they try to give you the word isles. It's just meaning islands. But we know that these places that they named with these sons, most of these places are not islands. The continents itself that they're on, among other people. We need to understand that some of these lands they inhabited were islands, but majority of these lands that they inhabited, these are not islands. This word is meaning lands. By these were the lands of the heathens. Or we can just say the people. By these were the lands of the people, divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families, in their nations. That's what we need to understand here. Because we see in Judges 4:13, it also tells us, Sisera gathered together all his chariots, even 900 chariots of iron, and all the people that were with him, for Harosheth of the Gentiles unto the river of Kishon. See, this word is not what these scholars lie to you and try to make you think it to be, because they're pushing a doctrine. The scriptures itself and the spirit bears witness. So we see it says from Harosheth, and we know that they break it, that in the Hebrew, it's the Smitty of the nations. So it says from the Smitty of the nations unto the river of Kishon. And we find out where's its location. This place that's called Gentiles is actually in Canaan, or we would say Israel, family. It is Upper Galilee. Upper Galilee is called Gentiles, nations. This is the place that they're referring to. This is not these other people at all, because this is just talking about specific areas of lands, because this is where a lot of heathens begin to abound. So we go to Isaiah, we're going to go to Matthew 4:15. It says, the land of Zebulun and the land of Nephthalim by the way of the sea, beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. Now, I just showed you off the last slide, the map. This is dealing in Canaan, Upper Galilee. What was dealing with the Harosheth. But now we see Galilee of the nations, Galilee of the Gentiles. Now we see already this land is actually in Israel. The people were sat in darkness, saw great light, and to them were sat in the region and shadow of death, light is sprung up. That law, that spirit was sprung up into them. And we see, because Yahweh shot. But we see this comes from the Old Testament, Isaiah 9:1. Nevertheless, the dimness shall not be such as was in her vexation, when at the first he lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterward did more grievously afflict her by the way of the sea, beyond Jordan, in Galilee of the nations. See, when we get to Matthew, they put the word Gentiles, right? But the Old Testament told us that that word translates to nations. So we see the scholars, they lie all the time. The scriptures define itself and tells you what's going on. You gotta live the nations. We're dealing with lands over here, actually, our people's lands and territories, Israel. We see this, family, up in Galilee. You gotta live the nations. You gotta live the Gentiles. This is what we need to understand here. So we know that this is what they've been teaching is all a lie, because the book doesn't teach this thing. So now we got to get to these Gentiles, because I'm going to be dealing with Paul and the Gentiles and much more, because it deals with what people don't understand. And it breaks down a lot of people's doctrines that they are false. We go to John 10:16. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold. So he's telling the Jews this. Remember, the Jews have a religion calling each other Jews, but it's also the kingdom of Yashral, Judah, house of Judah. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. But there was others among them from other tribes too, but it was the majority of them. But he's telling them he has other sheep, which are not of this fold. Them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice. Remember, these other sheep was going to come in. They were not of that fold who he was talking to and teaching at the time. They were going to come in. They were going to come in by his voice. And there shall be one fold and one shepherd. So there's going to be one fold and one shepherd. A lot of people just say this is the house of Judah and Levi, house of northern and southern kingdom being brought together. But it's much more deeper than that. It is another northern and southern kingdom being brought together. But these are split into multiple sects of people now. Nations, as it said, we will become. So now we're going to get in Acts 15, because now we got to get to what's really going on. And with all these doctrines. And the doctrine of the circumcision. Give me 1 second. Give me about 15 seconds, fam. Okay, family, we back. Acts 15. But this is where it begins to get deep, which a lot of people don't understand. And this is what we're going to start off with, because it's like most of your camps nowadays, because they don't know what this book is teaching, that they give a false doctrine. And they're doing the same thing we see happen over 2,000 years ago. Acts 15, it says, and certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren and said, except you be circumcised after the manner of Moses, you cannot be saved. Now, this is what gets deep, because this is where the whole teaching comes from. What a lot of people never know or knew, because they didn't continue to read, to understand by the Spirit. But don't worship the letter. And you'll understand what this means. Watch this, family. It says that certain men which came down from Judea, they was teaching all the brethren. They told them, you ain't getting saved. You can't receive salvation unless you get circumcised after the manner of Moses. And that was the big problem now, because we're going to get deep into this. But what brethren are they saying he's teaching this? But another problem is we see most camps, they teach a lot of brethren this also, that they ain't getting saved, they ain't coming in unless they get circumcised, right? A lot of people throw this on Paul, right? But this is not Paul saying this. This is not Paul saying this. This is Acts, right? So this is what they don't understand. Paul didn't write this here. When therefore Paul and Barnabas had no small dissension and disputation with them, they determined that Paul and Barnabas and certain of them should go up to Jerusalem unto the apostles and elders about this question. So he said, okay, y'all got to go up to Jerusalem. Speak to the elders about this question. Can these others see? They don't understand what he's talking to. I'm gonna tell you already. He's talking to the Gentiles. Who are these Gentiles? These are another sect of Israelites, and we're finna get into it. They're not talking about everybody else, and we're gonna get into that. So they're telling, go find out if this is so. And being brought on their way by the church, they passed through Phoenicia and Samaria, declaring the conversion of the Gentiles. And that means, in this context, it means heathen. The Israelites that are heathen. They're declaring that conversion of them. And they caused great joy unto all the brethren. So all the brethren was in great joy because the other brethren that were known as heathen, the heathens living among other nations. That many of them are converting over to the truth. And when they were come to Jerusalem, they were received of the church and of the apostles and elders. And they declared all things that Yah had done with them. Verse 5. But there rose up certain of the sect of Pharisees. So there is your sect of Pharisees, which believed, so saying that was needful to circumcise them. So now we got a problem here, family. These sect of Pharisees, they jump up, because this was the question that Paul and Barnabas was supposed to go back to the elders and ask. Now they're going back to the elders and telling them all the brethren are in great joy. But we have a sect of Pharisees hop up. They were believing, they believed this, saying that it was needful to circumcise them and to command them to keep the law of Moses. And the apostles and elders came together for to consider of this matter. So pay attention, family. The elders and the apostles come together about this whole matter. It's in the scriptures. They are coming together about this whole doctrine of, can they receive salvation if they're not circumcised after the manner of Moses? And a lot of people don't quite get it. So the elders and apostles come together about this question. So they're already having disputation about this before all these modern day Israelites come up with these doctrines. They should have just went back to the elders and seen what they said. Peter rose up and said, well, let's go back. And the apostles and elders came together for to consider of this matter. And when there had been much disputing, so they've been arguing, disputing over back and forth, Peter rose up and said unto them, men and brethren, you know how that a good while ago Yah made choice among us, that the Gentiles, so that the heathen, they're speaking of the heathen Israelites, by my mouth should hear the word of the gospel. So he said by his mouth, they're supposed to hear the word of this gospel and believe. And Yah, which knoweth the hearts, bears them witness. So he's saying Yah bears them witness, giving them the Holy Spirit, even as did unto us. Remember in the beginning of Acts when they all came together, family, Israelites from underneath the devout men underneath the heaven came together speaking in tongues. A lot of them was known as Gentiles, heathens. Many of them were converted already. This is a long mission of years going on. And put no difference between us and them. So he's telling them, hey, y'all didn't put no difference between us Israelites and those scattered Israelites among these nations. He told them what they must do. Well, pay attention, family. Purifying their hearts by faith. Now, therefore, why tempt you Yah to put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear? Remember when Yahushua coming along, all of them breaking the laws, not keeping none of them the right way, using it for their own deception, to deceive others and to get gain over them. Y'all remember what's going on? But he said, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear. But we believe that through the grace of Ha'adam HaMashiach, so by the Lord Yahushua, we shall be saved. So by this teacher, that's what he's talking about. We believe by this teacher that came, this Messiah, we shall be saved, even as they. So these sector Israelites are making a difference between them and these other sector Israelites being called Gentiles. Pay attention. They're being called heathens. But he's saying, we shall be saved even as they. So watch what's going on, fam. Acts 15 and 12. Then all the multitude kept silence and gave audience to Barnabas and Paul, declaring what miracles and wonders Yah had wrought among the nations, the Gentiles, the heathen family, by them. And after they had held their peace, James answered. So now we got James jumping up, which is also the seed of David, a prince. saying, men and brethren, hearken unto me. Simeon had declared how Yah at the first did visit the Gentiles. So he did visit the heathen. And remember, Peter already told them this. To take out of them a people for his name. So he said it was going to go across these other Israelites, which are being called Gentiles. They're being called heathens. To these Israelites. All the Jews and what says they call these Israelites heathens. That's what you got to understand. Why? Because a lot of them are mixed and been living among these nations for hundreds of years. And to this agree the words of the prophets. Let's go back. And he said, and to this agree the words of the prophets. So the words of the prophets agree to this. As it is written, after this I will return and will build again the tabernacle of David, Dawad, which is fallen down, and I will build again the ruins thereof, and I will set it up, that the residue of men might seek after the Lord, and all the Gentiles upon whom my name is called. See, upon all them heathen Israelites who his name is called. Says Yah, who doeth all these things? Known unto Yah are all his works from the beginning of the world. So he taught, and that's why I want our brother Dominic, peace and blessings to you, brother. When he go to Amos 9, he's talking literally about the breaches of David that's broken down to be built back up. And these Gentiles that was going to seek after him, these are Israelites, but these other Israelites don't look at them as regular Israelites like them. Why? Because they're not circumcised after the manner of Moses. They've been living as heathens. So you got to understand this. Verse 19, wherefore my sentence is that we trouble not them. So they're saying, and everybody putting this on Paul, but these are the disciples saying this stuff. It ain't even Paul. This are the disciples that were saying all this stuff. These are the elders and apostles that are agreeing to what I'm finna go through. Wherefore my sentence is that we trouble not them, which from among the Gentiles are turned to Yah. So which are among the heathen are turned to Yah. So the Israelites that are among these other nations, those that are turned to Yah, he said we ain't supposed to trouble them, but that we write unto them that they abstain from pollutions of idols and from fornication and from things strangled and from blood. So these are laws that they specifically set out for them. Remember, and they have to follow the Messiah, which automatically you have to keep the commandments. A lot of people don't understand that. For Moses of old time hath in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Shabbat day. So we know Moses being read throughout all these regions. People know of him. A lot of these Israelites that are heathen, called heathen, a lot of them are still believers. They're just separated from the other Israelites because they look at them as different people. They're not circumcised eighth day. They're not after the manner of Moses. They've been living among other nations, dressing like other nations. Many of them still have faith in Yah. We're told not to trouble them. Verse 22, then pleased it the apostles and elders with the whole church to send chosen men of their own company to Antioch with Paul and Barnabas. So now the apostles and the elders with the whole church family, they decided to send chosen men of their own company to Antioch. With who? With Paul and Barnabas. Namely Judas, surnamed Barnabas, and Silas, chief men among the brethren. So they sent chief men among the brethren to go with Paul and Barnabas. Why, family? Watch this. And they wrote letters by them after this manner. The apostles and elders and brethren saying greetings unto the brethren which are of the Gentiles. So they're saying we're sending greetings unto the Israelites that are of the Gentiles. They're of these nations. They're of the heathen. In Antioch and Syria and Cilicia, family. They're literally telling you it's Israelites in the verse. They're saying they sent greetings unto the brothers that are among the Gentiles, among the nations, among the heathens. For as much as we have heard that certain which went out from us have troubled you with words. So they're saying we heard other people went out troubling y'all with these doctrines, subverting your souls, saying you must be circumcised. Pay attention, family, and keep the law. To whom we gave no such commandment, family. The elders and apostles to these Israelites called the Gentiles, the heathens. They didn't give them no such laws because the Jews, they keep the laws of Moses and everything. They're circumcised eighth day. They're living in the land. breaking the laws, not even following it. But these other Israelites that growing up in other nations, that they don't look at as their own brethren. What the disciples do, because Yahushua taught them so. It said, for as much as we have heard that certain which went out from us have troubled you with words, subverting your souls, saying you must be circumcised and keep the law, to whom we gave no such commandment. So a lot of people read that, they don't know. They have laws and commandments that was given. And not just the ones I read in the last verse. When you're following Yahushua, you have to keep the commandments. You have to keep the laws. That's why I said the Gentiles shall wait for his law. The isle shall wait for his law. It's talking about these particular groups. Yahushua came for this group of Israelites. And a lot of people don't quite understand that. Acts 15-25. It seemed good unto us, being assembled with one accord, to send chosen men unto you with our beloved Barnabas and Paul, men that have hazarded their lives for the name of the Lord, Yahushua Mashiach. We have sent therefore Judas and Silas, who shall also tell you the same things by mouth. So they sending more witnesses with them to verify what these men are teaching y'all, the heathen, the Gentile Israelites. They gonna have others to verify this thing. A lot of people scared. Oh, they said we ain't put us particular Israelites weren't supposed to keep the law, certain laws of Moses or get circumcised. They had to send people to verify the doctrine that they're bringing among them. For it seemed good to the Holy Spirit and to us to lay upon you no greater burden than these necessary things. So they're supposed to be kept under certain laws and commandments. Not everything that, not the law of Moses. Law of Moses is not the law of God. A law of God. You need to understand that if you become a master of the law, you'll know that. But people don't quite get it. Let's go back. He said, for it seemed good to the Holy Spirit and to us to lay upon you no greater burden than these necessary things, that you abstain from foods offered to idols, and from blood, and from things strangled, and from fornication, from which if you keep yourselves, you shall do well. Fare you well. So when they were dismissed, they came to Antioch, and when they had gathered the multitude together, they delivered the epistle. So they delivered that epistle once they gathered that multitude together. This stuff that was writing. Remember, this wasn't Paul. This the apostles and the elders writing this. They put their doctrine on Paul, but they're the ones that's writing this stuff. And Paul going to confirm it, and then the Old Testament going to confirm that these are actually doctrines people have been pushing. But we're going to get to that. When they had read, they rejoiced for the consolation. So they rejoiced over this, what they was taught, that the Messiah come, he's allowing them back into the fold. These are the sheep, his other sheep that were not of that fold. They're allowed back in. The other Israelites, the Pharisees hated them. They want circumcised 8th day. They're not their brethren. They're not but heathen. They don't want them back in. But you know what? The elders and apostles didn't teach that. They told you how I came for these men. That's why the disciples are out there to bring them back into the fold. But we're finna get into it, family. And Judas and Silas, being prophets also themselves, exhorted the brethren with many words and confirmed them. So we have other witnesses. They had to also come and confirm this doctrine. We're waiting before we ever get to Paul speaking of anything such, but they don't even understand what Paul was teaching. But I'm going to show you what they teach. Acts 16. Then came he to Derbe and Lystra, and behold, a certain disciple was there, named Timotheus, the son of a certain woman, which was a Jewess, and believed. But his father was a Greek. Now we get this term Greek, family, not Gentiles, for a reason, which was well reported of by the brethren that were at Lystra and Iconium, which would Paul have to go forth with him, and took and circumcised them. Now remember, I just read you in the last thing what Paul was taught to go and teach the Gentile Israelites. Now we get into Israelites being called Greek Israelites, which is another sect of Israelites. They have to keep the 8th day circumcision and such things, or come back in from the Pharisees, because they know these people. They know exactly who these people are. But his father was a Greek, was well reported, they know this, of by the brethren that were at Lystra and Iconium, which will have Paul to go forth with him, and took and circumcised them because of the Jews, which were in those quarters. Pay attention. For they knew all that his father was a Greek. So they know that this is a Jew. They know his father is a Jew, which is under the sect of Israelites called Greeks. They know these people. The people being called Gentiles, they don't know them. They fathers. They don't. A lot of them don't believe like now. They don't think some of them are Israelites. These people, they know exactly who these people are. These are Israelites living like the Greeks. And as they went through the cities, they delivered them the decrees for to keep that were ordained of the apostles and elders, which were at Jerusalem. So now they going to the heathen Israelites, Gentile Israelites, after they had to circumcise Timotheus, because they know his father is a Greek, a Jew. That's under the Greek customs. They know who he is. He's a Jew. But we got Paul them still and Barnabas them. They still go on delivering these epistles. They go on teaching the decrees that were just taught in Acts 15, that were ordained of the apostles and elders. See, we know what the apostles and elders just ordained for them to teach the Gentiles. That's the heathen Israelites. That's a different sector of Israelites, which were at Jerusalem. So these are the apostles and elders, which I read Acts 15, that was at Jerusalem. And so were the churches established in the faith and increased in number daily. So these churches of the heathen Israelites, they're being established in the faith and increasing daily. Now, Paul and all of them have to go to all these Israelites because they have to teach all of them certain doctrines. They have to teach these particular ones about Hamashiach, Messiah. They have to teach the Gentile Israelites all the stuff that they taught in Acts 15. We go to Acts 18. After these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy, with his wife Priscilla. So we know that he's a Jew already. They know who he is. But we got to understand how they got these Greek names. You see this, family? How they have these Greek names, living in Greek areas, Greek territories. Lately come from Italy with his wife Priscilla. So they know who these certain Jews are, because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome. So you're hearing all these Greek names and titles and these people names, these are Jews, as we see. Because Claudius commanded all Jews to depart from Rome, and came unto them. And because he was of the same craft, he abode with them and wrought for by their occupation. They were tent makers. And he reasoned in the synagogue every Shabbat and persuaded the Jews and Greeks. So he ended up dealing with the Jews and the Greeks. That's who Paul's dealing with. In this certain era, he's dealing with Jews and Greeks. And when Silas and Timotheus were come from Macedonia, Paul was pressed in the spirit and testified to the Jews that Yahushua was Hamashiach. You see what he's teaching them? He's teaching them about Yahushua, that he's the Hamashiach, the Messiah that's come. He's not teaching none of these people about circumcision, none of such thing. Because he has to teach them to keep the law of Moses and to be circumcised 8th day. These Gentile Israelites are under different commandments. That's what a lot of people need to understand. And testified to the Jews that Yahushua was Hamashiach. This is what he has to go and teach them. The Messiah has come. The Messiah has come. He's the Christ. And when they opposed themselves in blasphemy, he shook his raiment and said unto them, your blood be upon your own heads. I am clean from henceforth. He said, from now on, I am clean. I will go unto the Gentiles. So Paul said, I'm going to these other Israelites that have been called the heathens. So Paul went to the Jews and Greeks. He teaches them about Yahushua being Messiah and such things. He don't never teach them anything about they're not supposed to not circumcise. That they're not supposed to keep the law of Moses. He never teaches them that because he's not supposed to teach them that. He's only supposed to go and teach these people this, these sect of Israelites. That's why he literally told the Jews and the Greeks, you know what? I'm going to the Gentiles, even though we're going to continue to see Paul teaching all of them. But this is his number one mission now. That's why Romans 11 and 13 said, for I speak to you Gentiles, these heathen Israelites, as much as I am the apostle of the Gentiles. I magnify my office. So we know why Paul left them. He teaches them to keep the law of Moses, to follow all such things. He come to them to teach them about Messiah. That's what he does. These people here, Gentile Israelites, they have different commandments to keep. Why? Because they're under different rulership, different powers. They don't have the authorities that they like these other Israelites, known as the Jews under their religion, have. They can't keep all these such things because they've been raised as heathens. They've been living under heathen rule. Like, you know, a lot of Israelites to today, they don't know. A lot of them crazy. They think they the Jews. Don't know if they even the Greeks. They need to understand a lot of them are the Gentiles. Because many of our brethren of the Bantu movement and the Jews that went over to Africa are still the people being known as the Jews. They kept the law of Moses, ate their circumcision, didn't lose that custom. The ones that lost the custom was the one Israelites that he told they have a certain commandments known as the Gentile. It's a whole different group of Israelites. This is Israelites being on the foreign rule hundreds of years, raising heathens. These Jews up here, they've been circumcised in the 8th day. The Greeks, when they came back into the law of Moses later on, because we see 2 Maccabees 6:1. This is why these people are the Greeks. These are their descendants. It says, not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers. Who? The Jews. And not to live after the laws of Yah. Watch this, family, verse 5. The altar also was filled with profane things, which the law forbiddeth. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Shabbat days or ancient fasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. Moreover, that's verse 8, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen. See, that word Gentile means heathen. By the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices. That's how many of them became Greeks. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles, so these heathens, should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. So we see that these people known as Jews and Greeks, so the Greeks are these people and their descendants from the Maccabees. They still had the laws of Moses stuck away secretly. That's why Paul can't never teach them not to keep law of Moses, because many of them still was keeping it. They still circumcised 8th day. But these Gentile Israelites, this is a whole different sector of Israelites. They don't count them as their brethren because they're mixed or they've been living among heathen for hundreds of years. And this is the thing. We go to back to Romans 11:13. He says, when he said, for I speak to you Gentiles, as heathen Israelites, as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify my office. If by any means I may provoke to immolation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them. So he made himself an apostle of the heathen to go among other nations. And Paul said, if by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh. So he's teaching among heathens to provoke Israelites that are Israelites by the Spirit, that the Spirit will bear them witness. And I might save some of them. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be? But life from the dead, family. I'm going to go to Galatians 2. 1 second. Then 14 years after, I went up again to Jerusalem with Barnabas, and took Titus with me also. And I went up by revelation and communicated unto them that gospel which I preached among the Gentiles. So among the, just know every time I read this, we're dealing with a sect of Israelites. Don't even imagine it being another nation of people, because this is literally Israelites. And remember, if you don't know that, these other people are literally trying to steal your promise. And many of y'all are the Gentile Israelites. Many people right now to today living as heathens for hundreds of years. If you weren't circumcised the 8th day, your family didn't know nothing about it. You the Gentile Israelite. Like most of the camp members and campmen, they Gentile Israelites. Most of the Jews in Africa, them Jew Israelites. See, that's what they don't know. Most of them, and some of them are with the Greek Israelites. They still keep the customs of 8th day circumcision by the law of Moses. Didn't forget it. Still doing it since the Bantu movement fled out from Jerusalem, 70 AD, and to other areas. Most of the people all got their customs still under law of Moses. Paul never teaches them to go against that. But these guys here, these Gentile Israelites, they have different commandments, different laws. The Messiah literally came for these people, but they deny him and what he taught. But privately, let's go back. And I went up by revelation and communicated unto them that gospel which I preached among the Gentiles, but privately to them which were of reputation, lest by any means I should run or had run in vain. So he was scared. Like, guess they come after me. But neither Titus, who was with me, being a Greek, was compelled to be circumcised. And that because of false brethren unawares brought in, who came in privately to spy out our liberty, which we have in Hamashiach Yahushua. So he said he brought Titus in under the revelation of Yahushua family. So Titus was being brought in by the saving of Yahushua. And this is what he's teaching. So he's saying Titus being brought in by the commandments of Yahushua. That's his salvation. It's not by the law of Moses. It's by the law of Yahushua. Watch this. And that because of false brethren unawares brought in, who came in privately to spy out our liberty, which we have in Hamashiach Yahushua, that they might bring us into bondage. So he said they want to bring us back into bondage under the old law, old covenant, when he's moving into a new covenant. To whom we gave place by subjection. No, not for an hour, that the truth of the gospel might continue with you. So he said we didn't fold for this one. We didn't fold in on this one. That's what he's telling you. But if these who seem to be somewhat whatsoever they were, it make it no matter to me. Yah accepted no man's persons. For they who seem to be somewhere in conference added nothing to me. He said they ain't changing nothing I got here. That's why we see Galatians 2:7. But contrary-wise, when they saw that the gospel of the uncircumcision. So when you see that Gentile, that means the Israelites that are of the uncircumcision. They're the uncircumcision Israelites, the heathens. Was committed unto me. So that's committed unto Paul. As the gospel of the circumcision was unto Peter. So the law of Moses, 8th-day circumcision, all this teaching, them laws and what comes with it, that was given unto Peter. That's what Peter was going to go do. For he that, which a lot of them still going against Yahushua, we're going to show you something. For he that wrought effectually in Peter to the apostleship of the circumcision, the same was mighty in me toward the Gentiles. So the same uncircumcision Israelites, they were mighty in Paul with this too. Like, yeah, the same way they felt good about Peter and his teaching, they were with Paul on his teaching to go to the Israelites he went to. And when James, Cephas, and John, who seemed to be pillars, perceived the grace that was given unto me, they gave to me Barnabas, the right hand of fellowship, that we should go into the heathen. See, that's Gentiles. The heathen. See, that we should go into the Gentiles. What the word is, though, defining itself, the context is heathens, not no other people. And watch this when I get out my way. That we should go into the heathen, and they unto the circumcision. So they going to the people of under the laws of Moses. They going to Jews under the Jew religion. Romans 2:25. I'm gonna show you that while Paul's teaching this other group something different. Why? Because the elders told him this in Acts. It ain't something he started teaching. They were teaching that yes, this is what you're supposed to do, and we mighty with you on it. Romans 2:25. For circumcision verily profited if you keep the law. He said, yeah, circumcision, it profits if you keep the law. But if you be a breaker of the law, your circumcision is made uncircumcision. So you got circumcised. It don't mean anything because you got circumcised, because you a sinner. That's what he's teaching. Therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of the law, he says, so if the uncircumcision, they keep the righteousness of the law, shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision? You see what he's saying? And shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature. So he's saying physical circumcision by nature, if it fulfill the law, judge you, who by the letter and circumcision does transgress the law. For he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly. So he's talking about circumcision of the flesh. Neither is that circumcision, which is outward in the flesh. So he's saying it don't make you a Jew because you circumcised in your flesh. That's why he's teaching to remember, he's going to Gentile Israelites to teach them this for a reason. Because remember, the other Israelites, they see all our other Israelite brethren that wasn't circumcised 8th day. These ain't nothing but heathens. They can't come into this covenant. They can't come into the feast. They can't do none of this or that. So our own brethren automatically cast out for this. So Yahweh shall come back to renew the law and the covenant, and bringing these other sheep into this fold, giving them commandments of their own. See, this is what we need to understand. So he's talking about when he says, because we know that they use this as a church doctrine to make up somebody else being the Jew inwardly. But it literally tells you which is outward in the flesh, because we're dealing with literal circumcision. But he is a Jew, which is one inwardly. And circumcision is that of the heart, in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men, but of Yah. So that kills the whole church doctrine, because he's literally telling you the inward Jew is of your heart, because you weren't circumcised 8th day, according to the manner of Moses. You've been cast away, your family for hundreds of years, living like heathen. The Messiah came for you. He letting you back into the fold. Don't let these brothers cast you out for that or take you out. See, because these were Jews, they under the law. These are Gentiles, they have a new law because they have broke the covenant, the law. The circumcision is of the 8th day, family. Remember that. I'm gonna tell you that for a reason. Ephesians 2:11. Wherefore, remember that you being in times past Gentiles. That's what Paul is dealing with in Romans 2:28. That you inwardly, outwardly. Because remember, you being in times past, you were heathen in the flesh. You weren't circumcised in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands. Continue to destroy church doctrine because Paul literally telling an Israelite, you was a heathen, you was a Gentile, which is called uncircumcision of the flesh, because you're not circumcised in your flesh. You are not but a heathen to your own brethren and such things. You were cast out. The other Israelites, they have hate towards you. But how shall I come to seal up that breach? That's what a lot of people don't understand. That at the time you were without Hamashiach, being aliens from the commonwealth of Yasharal, and strangers from the covenants of promise. You see this? So the Gentile Israelites, they've been without Hamashiach. They was like aliens until Yahushua came and brought, because of Yah, he sent this Messiah to bring back these sheep into the fold. They didn't have the commonwealth of Israel. It was away, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without Yah in the world. This is what the Gentile Israelites were without, even many of the Greek Israelites. But now in Hamashiach Yahushua, you who sometimes were far off are made near by the blood of Yahushua. Hamashiach, that's the word. For he is our peace, who hath made both one, and have broken down the middle wall of partition between us. So he broke down that wall between the Jews, that's under the law of Moses, and the Gentile Israelites that are out there that have no hope in the world. Because they weren't circumcised 8th day, covenant broken. Covenant being broken, that's not even in the covenant, if you want to know that. Because we're going to get to that. Romans 2:6. Who will render to every man according to his deeds, to them who by patient continuance is well doing, seek for glory and honor and immortality, eternal life. But unto them that are contentious and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness, indignation and wrath, tribulation and anguish upon every soul of man that doeth evil, of the Jew first, and also of the Gentiles. So it say even on these Jews. So a lot of our brothers in Africa that's been under this tradition still for 2,000 years, they didn't lose it. This is the Jew, and then all the other brothers that's been scattered around the world trying to bring themselves back into a fold by their own doctrine. When the disciples, the Messiah gave the teaching, the truth. But glory, honor, and peace to every man that work is good, to the Jew first, and also to the Gentile. That's the heathen Israelite that come into faith and truth. For there is no respect of persons with Yah. For as many have sinned without law, shall also perish without law. So the Gentile Israelites and also many of the Greek Israelites, these different sectors of Israelites, they didn't have that law. Many of them died without that law and perished. And as many have sinned in the law, shall be judged by the law. So all the Jews, the ones that was of the religion still in the land, and even in other territories outside of the land, some lived in Rome, some lived in Ephesians, all these, they had the law under the law. They shall be judged by the law. For not the hearers of the law are just before Yah, but the doers of the law shall be justified. For when the Gentiles, so when these heathen Israelites, which have not the law, do by nature the things contained in the law. So like the heathen Israelites being scattered, it's by their spirit. They literally doing law stuff and laws that are in the law of Moses, that are in the commandments of Yah, by nature. Do by nature the things that contained in the law. These have not the law, and nor a law unto themselves, family, which show the works of the law written in your heart. So when that new covenant talking about the law written in your heart, you doing the law by nature without even having that law shows that the law is written in your heart. Their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts, the meanwhile accusing or else excusing one another. We almost done, family. We got a few more side stuff. Galatians 6:8. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. That's talking about these worldly things, sowing it to their flesh. That's even worshiping the letter. But he that soweth to the spirit shall of the spirit reap life everlasting. And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them who are of the household of faith. You see how large a letter I have written unto you with mine own hand. As many as desire to make a fair show in the flesh. Watch this, family. As many as desire to make a fair show in the flesh, they constrain you to be circumcised. They talking about the Gentile Israelites, the heathen Israelites. Remember this, not talking about the Jews and the Greeks that were still under the law of Moses. Remember this, family. As many as desire to make a fair show in the flesh, they constrain you to be circumcised, only lest they should suffer persecution for the cross of Hamashiach. Why? Because they don't care about the Messiah. The Messiah is the new lawgiver, the new teacher. They said, bump Messiah. We worship, we follow the letter. We get to get over on other men. Watch this. For neither they themselves who are circumcised keep the law. They ain't keeping that law, man. Many of the camps teach a false doctrine too. But desire to have you circumcised, that they may glory in your flesh, family. But Yah forbid that I should glory, but in the cross of the Yahushua HaMashiach, by whom the world is crucified unto me, and I unto the world. So he teaching this sect of Israelites, Gentile Israelites, man, don't fall for the foolishness. Yahushua came for you also. He brought you back into the fold. Don't let no fool you run around worrying you about these things. If you were born under the law, you under that law. You under the law that was given unto you by the elders and apostles. For in Hamashiach, neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision, but a new creature. See, when Yahushua came of the new covenant and the commandments of Yah, circumcision, he didn't say you're getting this if you're circumcised. He didn't say if you didn't get circumcised, you ain't getting that. He told you about a new creature, and that spirit being within you of the word of the Father. And as many as walk according to this rule, peace be unto them and mercy, and upon the Yasharal of Yah. That's why 1 Corinthians 7:19 says this: circumcision is nothing, and uncircumcision is nothing. Whether you circumcised or not, it ain't nothing. I know many of us, because of camp doctrines and such, ran to go get circumcised and such teachers. But if you ever read the scriptures, because many of you are the Gentile Israelites, unless you were born under the law, then you, as many of the Bantu movements, kosher Jews and such, they didn't lose these traditions like many of us. Watch this. Circumcision is nothing, and uncircumcision is nothing, but the keeping of the commandments of Yah. You see what they say? So they'll lie to you and say that they try to put away commandments of Yah because you're hearing such thing about the law of Moses. The commandments of Yah is written within the law of Moses. You just don't know what they are because you have to be a master of the law to know. And it's actually so simple because it's written in Deuteronomy 5. But they don't read it. He teaches you to keep the commandments of Yah. He teaching the Gentile Israelites that being circumcised on your 50th year, your 35th year, it ain't going to save you. Salvation is not of no circumcision. It's of keeping the commandments of Yah. It's about keeping the Shabbat, keeping the commandments of Yah, following Hamashiach, the lawgiver. This is what he taught the Gentile Israelites, to follow Messiah, follow his law, follow his teaching. That's why the Old Testament, Isaiah said the Gentile, these Israelites was going to wait for his law because they were waiting on the law of Moses because they were broken from it. You can't come back in if once the 8th day was passed on, which wasn't even in the covenant, but we're going to get to that. Galatians 5:2. Behold, I, Paul, say unto you that if you be circumcised, Hamashiach shall profit you nothing. So he's telling these Gentile Israelites, if you go ahead and get circumcised because they've been worrying you about it, Yahushua, this Messiah, he ain't going to profit you nothing because you running back to Moses. You ain't running to Yahushua no more. You said, bump Yahushua. I'm going to Moses because they've been telling me I only can get salvation from circumcision. What in the world is wrong with many people to today? The Messiah came and he didn't tell you no such thing. He ain't even told Moses no such thing. It's in Deuteronomy 5. See, I don't read the scriptures. Behold, but if you're a Jew, you're a Bantu Israelite, you're under the law, you have to keep the laws. That's why it says, for I testify again to every man that is circumcised, that he is a debtor to do the whole law. So I don't want to hear none of these wacko Israelites running around talking about, oh, we under grace, but we're supposed to keep the law of Moses. No, I can't kill this man because he broke. You got to keep the whole law. You ain't under Hamashiach salvation of grace because you kicked them out the way. You're running back to the law of Moses. You circumcised. You under the law of Moses. You adapted to do the whole law. I don't want to hear nothing about you in no captivity. You can't do that. Ain't what it teach. The book say you got to keep the whole law. You can't say no. You can't kill your brother once he sinned, did all this adulterous stuff, because you believe in the letter. You don't believe in your house. That's what I say. Your house should profit you nothing. You don't follow after the Messiah, so you ain't got grace. If you follow, you adept to the law, you ain't got no grace, because grace came with who? On my shot. It didn't come with the depth of the law. For I testify again to every man that is circumcised that he is a debtor to do the whole law. So if you ain't out there punishing people for breaking commandments and stuff, you ain't nothing but a liar and a sinner. You ain't no law keeper. Why? But if you believe in Hamashiach Messiah, because you are a Gentile Israelite, you're not raised under rule, you're not African under the Bantu movements and such, been circumcised 8th day, then you got that right. You can't never cast your brother out if he wants to keep the laws given in Acts 15, the 10 commandments, and all the laws Yahushua gave, because the Gentiles was waiting for his law. The Jews wasn't. The Jews just waiting on Messiah to come renew covenant. The Greeks that knew of such things, many of them were circumcised 8th day because they taught their descendants to be once they came back into knowledge. But many of them that was under Greeks still was in captivity, not knowing nothing. Watch this, verse 4. Hamashiach is become of no effect unto you. Whosoever of you are justified by the law, you are fallen from grace. So I don't want no, you cannot never pull up no scripture to my you under grace if you're going to keep telling me you under the law of Moses. It's two different things. You have to be on the law of Yahushua, or you're adapted to do the whole law of Moses. You better be punishing people, and you better not be sinning, because you're going to be in some big problems, because you already pushed Yahushua. You pushed the Messiah away. I mean, you pushed Yah out the way. The one that brought the covenant back to you to bring you back in. You that was lost from your heritage for hundreds of years to bring you back in. This is who he came for. You said, Mom, I'm running back to Moses. Well, Moses pointed you to go to that guy. Y'all are lost. You need to run to him, Messiah. But no, people don't understand the truth. So if you're born under the law, you better keep the law. You better do all such things. But if you wasn't born under it, and you're a Gentile Israelite, you better not be lying to all these other people out there. Acts 21:15. And after those days, we took up our carriages and went up to Jerusalem. There went with us also certain of the disciples of Caesarea, and brought with them one Manson of Cyprus, an old disciple, with whom we should lodge. And when we were come to Jerusalem, the brethren received us gladly. And the day following, Paul went in with us unto James, and all the elders were present. You see this? When James, all the elders present, watch this. And when he had saluted them, he declared particularly what things Yah had wrought among the Gentiles by his ministry. So we know the sect of Israelites who Paul magnified his office upon. And we know who Peter went to. The ones that was already circumcised under the law of Moses needed to learn about Messiah and such things. And the coming of events. Acts 21:20. And when they heard it, they glorified the Lord and said unto him, you seest, brother, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe, and they are all zealous of the law. And they are informed of you, that you teachers all the Jews which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses. You see this, family? Paul never did one such thing. That's why I went through it. Paul with the Jews and Greeks never taught them away from it. He taught them about Messiah, that Yahushua was the Messiah to come. That's what he taught them. But they say, no, the Jews that are among the Gentiles, the heathens, the ones that are under that religion, they know who their fathers are. They know who these people are. See, they know who many of them are. They don't know who all of them are. That's why they cast many of their brethren out. He said, we heard you told them to forsake Moses, right? Remember, Paul and all of them already got the law and the confirmation from the apostles and elders in Acts 15, what they're supposed to be teaching. But we see, hey, you're telling the Jews who are supposed to be under the law of Moses, because this is what they've been raised under, that they shouldn't be keeping it. Saying that they are not to be circumcised their children, neither to walk after the customs. What is it therefore? The multitude must needs come together, for they will hear that you are come. Do you therefore this that we say to you? We have 4 men, which have a vow on them. Take them and purify yourself with them, and be at charge with them, that they may shave their heads, and all may know that those things whereof they were informed concerning you are nothing, but that you yourself also walkest orderly and keepeth the law. Most definitely, Paul walked orderly and kept the law. Paul had a particular mission, just like every other disciple was taught, even from the Old Testament, that the Gentiles were waiting for the law of the Messiah. It's in Isaiah. It's in Jeremiah. Acts 21:25. As touching, watch this, family. Remember what I just read, y'all. Paul, I'm at verse 24, when he told them to take charge with these men, and showing that he also walked orderly and keep the law. Let's go to the next verse. As touching the Gentiles, which believe. So touching these other Israelites. Remember, family, they literally telling you out their mouth, we're talking about two different groups of Israelites. But these Israelites, these Gentile Israelites, which believe, we have written and concluded that they observe no such thing. So we already know that what he's telling other people ain't the same thing, family. It's lies when he comes teaching stuff. Because we see verse 24, 3 and 24, Paul purified himself because they were lying on him, saying he was teaching Jews that's among the other Israelites that are known as the heathens, telling them they ain't got to keep the law of Moses. Paul didn't never teach that. Paul keeps the law. Paul was born under it. But Paul also knows he's supposed to keep the law of Hamashiach and what he must teach the others. The very next verse telling you, as touching them Gentile Israelites, which believe, we have written and concluded that they observe no such thing. So it ain't got nothing to do with them. But only that they keep themselves from the things offered to idols, and from blood, and from strangle, and from fornication. So we have a separation between the different sectors of Israelites. The ones that ain't born under the law of Moses, we all born under the law, the covenant, but the ones that ain't born under the law of Moses in the land or near areas being raised, he ain't talking to them. These heathen Israelites, they broken their cast from the covenant. That's what people don't know the book. They were brought back in because of who? Yahushua. When you see the churches try to steal this promise from these Israelites, many of these are y'all. When the church had to take this from you, you need to understand this is you it's talking about. This is your promise they want to take from you. You was the Israelite cast off a long way. They go around Africa and every such other land. These other Israelites, they know who they are. They've been keeping this custom for 2,000 years. But many of us, counsel lying to us. But then Paul took the men, and the next day purifying himself with them, entered into the temple to signify the accomplishment of the days of purification, until that an offering should be offered for every one of them. So we see that Paul did the purification, men among Jews, 23 and 24, showing he keeps the law, walk orderly. Most definitely he does. They told us, as touching the Gentile Israelites, we didn't say no such thing. It's two different things, different sector of Israelites. We need to understand that. You can't put a whole burden on a different Israelite group that don't have the power, or like many of them in captivity using excuses why they can't keep the law. Well, that's what they gave you the order to keep the certain laws they gave you. This is what Hamashiach came to do. You the one he was talking to. These other Israelites that have been living for 2,000 years, our family members over in Africa, I know many of them, they weren't talking to them. They the Jews that were supposed to accept us back. Don't y'all know that? Because they were still under the religion called Jew. I mean, that's what this is called. Jew is a religion also. So Paul tell you that. This certain stuff, doctrine, they follow religion. And when the 7 days were almost ended, the Jews, which were of Asia, so we got Jews in Asia. Remember, we got Israelites all over, but Jews, a particular sect that they know is under the particular religion, when they saw him in the temple, stirred up all the people and laid hands on him. So they saw Paul say, hey, let's get him. Crying out, men of Yasharal, help. This is the man that teaches all men everywhere against the people and the law in this place, and further brought Greeks also into the temple and have polluted this holy place. You see that? So they're accusing Paul. Paul got orders from the elders and apostles, but they lying on Paul. Verse 29, for they had seen before with him in the city Trophimus and Ephesians. So Trophimus, the Israelite Ephesian, whom they supposed that Paul had brought in the temple. So they supposed Paul brought Trophimus in the temple. That's what they supposed. So they just been accusing Paul, making doctrines up on Paul. We go to John 7 and 22. Moses, now that's where we're going to get deep because a lot of people don't understand the scriptures. Moses, therefore, gave unto you circumcision. Who gave them circumcision? Man, if you're a Jew, this is not talking about you. We're only talking to Gentile Israelites while they're coming up with these conversations to save your soul. Moses, therefore, gave unto you circumcision. Why I didn't say Yah? Because y'all don't know what the book talking about. Not because it is of Moses What does this mean? But of the fathers. Oh, they don't know what that means. That means a tradition. And you, on the Shabbat day, circumcise a man. If a man on the Shabbat day receives circumcision, that the law of who? Moses, not Yah. Y'all don't understand the book yet. Should not be broken. Are you angry at me? Because I have made a man everywhere whole on the Shabbat. He said, I made a man whole everywhere whole on Shabbat. I ain't doing what y'all doing. But pay attention, family. Why did I read that? And say of the fathers? Let's go down. Genesis 17:11. What he told Abraham. And you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin. And it shall be a token of the covenant between me and you. So Abraham, he goes, when he gets circumcised, he did it for a token of Yah. When Yahweh talking about them up here, they run around to get circumcised. Ain't got nothing to do with Abraham. This is what they don't even know. Moses gave them this. And it was a law to the woman that a woman had to have this done to the child. The woman had to make sure her child was circumcised by the 8th day. Do y'all even know that? That's what the law say. See, y'all got to read it. But because it is of Moses. Not because it is of Moses, but of the fathers. Why? Because it comes from the tradition that was given to Abraham. It was a covenant with Abraham, passed down through generations. And he said, it shall be for an everlasting covenant. That's right. What the problem is with that, family? We go to Deuteronomy 5. And Moses called all Israel and said unto them, Hear, O Yasharal, the statutes and judgments, which I speak in your ears this day, that you may learn them and keep and do them. Yah, our God, made a covenant with us in Horeb. Watch this, family. Key point. The Lord, Yahweh, family, pay attention, made not this covenant with our fathers. You see this? This is not the covenant he made with Abraham. See, people from then don't even know the book. See, our people have been mistaken because they haven't been walking in the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, or the Word. They haven't been believing on Yah. I can confirm all the stuff Paul's saying because I know the book don't say this stuff that people run a doctrine to. First of all, the covenant of circumcision was given to who? Abraham. We got cast off from it, living hundreds of years without it. So I understand why they're teaching it. Deuteronomy 5, our covenant has nothing to do with no circumcision. Our covenant is the 10 Commandments. Don't y'all know that? Y'all run into different covenants. Not never even know what the book teaches. But Moses put in the law to have a child circumcised 8th day. It was supposed to be done. The woman's supposed to have this done. So we can't cast none of our brethren out that are all Gentile Israelites. Which that's many of y'all just didn't know that. Romans 4:11. This is Abraham, watch this. And he received the sign of circumcision, a seal of the righteousness of the faith, which he had yet being uncircumcised. See, so Abraham already received that faith and that sign. The point of this was obedience. He obeyed Yah's voice. So he did what Yah said do. Abraham got circumcised, and throughout our generations was being done. Many stopped doing it in captivity and corruption. That he might be the father of all them that believe. You see that? Though they be not circumcised, that the righteousness, you see that what? That the righteousness might be imputed unto them also. So it's going to be regarded unto you that if you are also going to obey Yah's voice, by what? The covenant he gave us, the agreement he made with us, which deals with Messiah. So a lot of people casting themselves out because they don't trust the Messiah and not believing the teachings he brought and not understanding what the Old Testament teaches, that Messiah is the lawgiver. The lawgiver. Right? Deuteronomy 5. The Lord our God, Yahweh, made a covenant with us in Horeb. The Lord made not this covenant with our fathers. He didn't make this covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He made this covenant with Yasharal family in Horeb. But with us, even us, who are all of us here alive this day, right, family? How shall I come along to renew the covenant for us? We all went there that day. This covenant was going for those that were going to be born after also. What happened? This covenant was broken. Yahushua came to bring us back in as the adoptions of sons. So anybody bring up them doctrines, it's not in the covenant. So you're dead if you ever try to put Abraham covenant in our covenant when Yah himself, Moses himself said, man, this ain't their covenant. This is our covenant. Best believe that. And he made a promise with him, and it passed on to us. The oath was passed from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob to Yasharal family. We are the glory of Yah. He's giving it to no other. Ephesians 2:11. Wherefore, I read this earlier. Remember that you being in times past Gentiles in the flesh. That was called uncircumcision. I read that for a reason because 1 Peter also deals with it. 1 Peter 4:3 says, for the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles, the heathen. That's what it means in this context. Nations, which means it's meaning heathen. When we walked in lasciviousness, lust, excessive wine, revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatry. See, that's being a Gentile, being a heathen. This is being that heathen in times past, what many of our people have been doing, even to today. Eating pork and stuff you ain't supposed to be eating. Causes disease to a lot of people. Can swell you up. Excessive wine, lust, idolatry. This is being a heathen. This is being that Gentile. Do any of you follow? Have any of you ever been Gentile? A Gentile, of course. Majority of our brethren are cast away are the Gentile that was promised to be received back in. Those Jews, the Israelites that are known as Jews in Africa and other places, they've been following the customs over 2,000 years, family. Romans 11:9. And David says, let their table be made a snare, and a trap, and a stumbling block, and a recompense to them. Let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down their back always. I say then, have they stumbled that they shall fall? Yah forbid. But rather, through their fall, salvation is come unto the nations, family. This is the context of the word Gentile. It's come unto the nations. For to provoke them to jealousy, right? Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world, so the fall of us is the riches of the world, and the diminishing of them, the riches of the nations. You see this? So if I fall, the world becomes rich and great because of our fall. The diminishing of them, the riches of the nations. How much more their fullness, family? So what will we receive in our fullness of a great reward? If all this is coming to these people from our fall, don't you understand we're going to receive something so much greater than what these nations have received? How much more their fullness in our coming in? They go to Romans 11:16. For if the fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. If the root be holy, so are the branches. We know the branch is holy, the root holy. We are those branches. And if some of the branches be broken off, and you being a wild olive tree, you being that Gentile Israelite, you've been wild to this. You just come into knowing you're Israelite almost 2,000 years later. Or let's just say hundreds of years later. We're grafted in among them. So you grafted in among Israelites that's been keeping this culture for 2,000 years. Our actual brother. And with them partakers of the root and the fatness of the olive tree. Boast not against the branches. But if you boast, you bearest not the root. But the root you will say then, the branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in. Remember, Israel had been broken up, tore down. Remember what happened in the time of Jerusalem? When he told many of the Jews, they didn't believe. How was I spoken to them these things? What Paul went back and said, well, I'm going to the Gentile Israelites. I'm clean from this. So the Gentile, the heathen Israelites that wasn't under the law of Moses, given particular laws and commandments. It's all of them giving the commandments of Yah to take commandments. Ain't nobody can't get around that one. That's part of natural law. We're grafted in. For if Yah spared not the natural branches, the natural ones that are broken off those Pharisees movements, the ones that wasn't mixed up or living as heathen among the nations, they just became wicked and sinful, then became idolaters. He broke them off. If he ain't spared none of them, take heed lest he also spare not you. He let you come back in on a promise through the Messiah and by the disciples. You that was lost for so long, he let you back in. You better take heed lest he also spare not you. I think that's why I ended it at. Let me see. Yeah. Hallelujah, family. I know one of my brothers may be in the back. I thought I heard something or not. But that's what we're going to end it at, family. I'm going to drop the link and see if anybody else want to come in, say anything. But we have to understand we're dealing with different sectors of Israelites. All of them are not under the same commandments. All of them not under the same laws. All have to keep the 10 commandments. All have to do righteous and what is just. If you're a Jew Israelite, you're born under the religion, 8th-day circumcision, you got to keep the whole law. You can't be in America talking about you under grace when your house shot didn't come to bring the whole law. He came to bring, he was the new lawgiver. But let's go ahead. I dropped the link. And peace and blessings to my brother Elder Yara. Peace and blessings to my brother A9. Peace and blessings, Queen. Professor Lovely Lady. Peace and blessings to my brother Yeremiah Yahoo. Peace and blessings, brother Salayah bin Yah. Yeah, but see, if you want to go get circumcised, if you're a Gentile Israelite, which most of these Israelites saw that's over in this era, and you want to be circumcised for health reasons, great, you can do it. But if you think it's going to bring you salvation, you're out of the window with it. They don't bring you salvation. Believing in Hamashiach, the teaching is what he taught from the word of Yah. It's how you get salvation. That's what salvation comes from. They don't come from circumcision when you was a Gentile Israelite. Why? Because you were broken from the covenant, you were broken from the promise, and all such things. You had to be adopted back in, and you only could do it through Messiah, not your own way. Moses told you, you got to go to Messiah when you get down this far up the road. He's the only way to bring you back in, because that's who Yah is sending. He broke off natural branches that didn't believe in the Messiah when he came, just to bring you back in. That was already broken off from the times of Ezra and such things when people were mixing children speaking languages of Ashdod. Many of them were cast out the land, lost heritage, lost promises, lost without hope, living among nations for hundreds of years. Hundreds of years. Man, it was so gladly and grateful that they could be finally brought back in, because that spirit bearing witness with their spirit. Just as going on in these days. The spirit is bearing witness with those that are the children of Yah, you Gentile Israelites, because that's talking about you. They ain't talking about no church or no other nations of people. That word mean heathens, nations, and people. And you're the one that are broken off long ago, cast away through time periods. We know we went back in before transatlantic slave trade when we were living over in Africa, following heathen customs and such. That put us back into captivity, brought us in. Many of us was lost, but we are found. All praise Yah, hallelujah. Peace and blessings to the Queen, authentically Eric. How you doing tonight? But that's why I said when false brethren brought in the wares trying to teach a certain group of Israelites, they got to keep all of this such things knowing nowhere in the world and the kingdom they live in, knowing people getting killed and persecuted, knowing they got to go, they holding Sunday things, they doing certain ritual worships. You can't keep all this stuff like in America when some people, they got to work on a certain day. They can't keep a certain feast day, or they got to do the Shabbat on a different day, because they ain't living like the Jews was under their religion. Got power over the land in their area. Dealing with the Romans because they're sellouts. They were able to do these things and keep these commandments and laws. They're able to punish another for it, as we see. Gentiles alike can't do that. What's going to happen now? He'll be in jail or prison for stupidity, not using the wisdom of Yah from above, because he brought commandments from the Messiah that when you enter into this captivity, he gave you law, specific commandments to walk in, that you will receive salvation and grace. Remember, you're debtor to do that whole law. You have taken grace from your brethren, because you got to go punish your brethren out here for breaking commandments and sinning. Remember, you're debtor to do that whole law if you ain't listening to Messiah. You going back to your own doctrine, running to old, because Moses don't agree with none of these Old Testament only. Most don't agree with none of them. None of the prophets do. Most definitely, Yah doesn't. Yah told us the priesthood and all that been corrupted all these years since he brought them out of Egypt. They've been sinners, corrupted. It's only been a few remnants over the periods of time that trusted in his word by the prophets, that believed in what he said. They didn't turn away. So we can't turn down any of our brethren. Because, many of us, when the camps teaching the doctrine, you got to get circumcised. Many ran for that salvation, believe that if you didn't get circumcised, you weren't going to receive salvation. So many of us and our brethren ran and got circumcised, which was a false doctrine, because you was a Gentile Israelite. That's why you weren't circumcised every day. If you was, your parents would have most definitely did it, because they would have been keeping the law of Moses also. See? But they don't pay attention to that. Let's go over to Africa bench moves. Like our brother Ronald Dalton, he over there. I know why, because a lot of stuff he teaches true, because a lot of them are our family members. Part Bantu over there. They've been over 2,000 years. They've been a remnant of them been keeping these laws, statutes, commandments, 8th day circumcision, Torah, feast days, fasts, stuff like and such. under their own particular doctrine of leadership, because that's how the scriptures teach. It depends who your leader is, how you work around these laws and over periods of times. See? But the Gentile Israelites, they just woke up and just created doctrines, trying to bring brethren into bondage on stuff they can't even do. See? That's what it's teaching them. But many of the camps are saying they got the truth, but they bringing their brethren back into bondage and don't understand it. They're making their brethren feel like a sinner. Then they're making them adapted to do the whole law. Ain't none of them keeping the whole law. We know that. Oh, we'll be hearing that the camp just killed such and such for sinning. This camp just killed such and such for sinning. Like Yahweh ben Yahweh. What he was, adapted to do the whole law. Right? He was doing the whole law. He was killing them, but they was doing wicked, sinful things also. See, people don't understand what it's teaching. You can't create your own doctrine and say, like the Old Testament only say he got grace. How you just created your own grace? You're adept to do the whole law. Ain't no grace. You're a sinner. Somebody got to kill you, take you out. You know what the law teaches. What grace you added? Grace only came by Messiah because of Yah. We had grace in the Old Testament in the wilderness. When many of them got killed, he gave the remnant grace. Then what happened in the time of Messiah? Under the doctrine of Messiah, you got grace. You can't create your own doctrine and say you got grace. You don't believe in Messiah. How did you get grace? You adapted to do this whole law. So don't teach them such things that they can't do. You teach them what they told them. No fornication. No food worship the idols. We need to understand that. No fornication. This stuff is bounded up in the Ten Commandments. And then you'll be going through like so many laws within the law of Moses. Most of them laws are bounded within just them few scriptures. But it's not holding them to the bondage of the law like everybody else is doing. It's teaching them to walk righteous and just. Using those things out of the law. Why? Because they were Gentile Israelites. Lost from the promises. We're able to attain them because of Hamashiach. Don't let the church steal your promise. Because the church is actually coming for your promise. Messiah came for you. Church said it's come for them. You that Gentile. The Israelite who has been speaking of tongue, that is you. Or you weren't being trying to come into the truth. You've already been born into the truth. You understand that. They want your promise. They can't have it. Y'all give his glory to no other. We are his temple, his vessel. We are the light of the world, that we may save other nations. So they can't steal our promise, because by our promise, we can save others that believe and trust in the Heavenly Father by his word. They can't steal the adoptions of sons. We were the ones adopted back in. Lost from our heritage. This is what we need to understand. Peace and blessings to the Queen, Cassandra Mensah. I don't see her in here, but peace and blessings to her. But no, Paul never taught the Jews that they weren't supposed to be circumcised or keep laws of Moses. He went to just the Gentile heathens because who? The apostles and the elders taught that. And told Paul and Barnabas them that's what they're supposed to teach. So was Paul wrong for listening to the apostles and the elders and James and Peter? They told him this is what you need to be teaching. So he went and taught it. What's crazy about that? You can't throw Paul out for New Testament belief. You got to throw the whole New Testament out because it's what they're all teaching. They're teaching to save your soul, to bring you back in. But if you're a part of the Bantu movement, such other Israelites in Africa that's been doing it for over 2,000 years, he wasn't talking to you on that tip. You're the sheep, other sheep that wasn't of that fold. Just like many of them of that day. It was hopeful and thank that Yah made a way for them to come back in. Why? Because many of the Pharisees wouldn't let them in. Hated their brethren, wouldn't bring them back in. They wasn't raised under the law of Moses. They're not circumcised. They covenant's broken. They're out of here. Why? Because that's what the covenant said for Abraham. Wasn't given that covenant. It was given a different one. Deuteronomy 5 literally told you that. This ain't the covenant he gave to them. How crazy our people is. They literally read the word. Y'all say, I gave this to y'all. This is separate from them. Yahweh said Moses gave you circumcision because it's a tradition. That's why it says of the fathers, it became a tradition, which was good for how people using. We weren't the only culture using it, of course. But many people thought that salvation came by circumcision, which made them like some Looney Tunes. Circumcision going to bring you salvation. Y'all made man that way. Y'all created man that way. You saying he made a mistake? No. The whole point to that when he did that with Abraham to see if he would obey his voice. What Abraham did, he obeyed his voice. So we came to Moses' time. We're supposed to obey his voice throughout the prophets. Get the Messiah, Yahushua. We're supposed to obey his voice. That's what you're supposed to be doing, obeying the voice of Yah. And he speaks unto them. But y'all choose to do what you want to do and teach what you want to teach. You can't do that. But I'm getting ready to jump off, family. I didn't see any of my brethren coming in here tonight to hit the link, but if they want to, I'd drop another one. Peace and blessings to our brother Wilson Payne. You know, see, we're the light to this world to bring others into this truth. That's why I said you can't teach a doctrine or make your own doctrine up to get saved, because it ain't going to work. Because you're trying to steal other people's promises. The people that are promised something is the one that actually gets to bring other nations into salvation by the truth. Because remember, it was by his Holy Spirit he will bring them in. By the word of truth. Spirit of truth. And we will bear witness of it. Hallelujah, family. Yo, by the power of his word, I rock. Hallelujah.